I used to pride myself on staying off the grid. No social media, no public photos, no name on any online forum, not even a LinkedIn. Some people thought I was paranoid, but I just liked privacy. I liked the idea that if you searched for me online, you'd find nothing, just an empty void where a digital presence should be. That made it all the more unsettling when I did find something. It started with a message from a friend I hadn't spoken to in years, Lena, someone from my old college dorm. She reached out through an old email I'd only ever used for school registrations. "Hey, is this you?" A link was attached. No explanation. I hesitated before clicking it. I don't usually trust links, especially not ones sent out of the blue. But curiosity got the better of me. It led to a podcast, one of those true crime things. The kind where a host with a warm, disarming voice tells stories of con artists, unsolved disappearances, creepy internet lore, and the episode title was my full name. I thought it had to be a coincidence, but as I listened, my stomach sank. The voice described a man's same name, same age, same hometown. Even the high school was right. The story claimed I was running some kind of elaborate scam, buying domains, creating fake websites for fake products, and vanishing after collecting payments. That was absurd. I'd never done anything remotely like that. But the worst part came at the end of the episode. The host said, "We've reached out for comment to the man allegedly behind these scams. Let's call him Darren, but we've received no response. If you have any information about Darren's current whereabouts, contact us at..." The episode had over 300,000 plays, and my inbox, I realized, was full of spam threats, refund demands. Some were months old. I had just never checked it. I sat there in my dark apartment, the walls too still, the street outside too quiet. I could hear the hum of my refrigerator. I could hear my own heartbeat. What scared me wasn't that someone had used my name. It was how closely they had mirrored my life. For the next week, I barely slept. I dug through every reference to Darren I could find online. A Reddit post, a few shady forums, a complaint thread on some scam watch list. The name always matched. So did some version of the email I had in college. There were usernames to ones I'd never made, but which used variations of my birthday or apartment number. How would anyone even know those? The more I searched, the more personal it all became. There were references to a school project I did in sophomore year. A blog post I'd written under a pseudonym, nothing major, but things that had never been public. They'd never left my hard drive. At first I thought maybe someone had hacked my old laptop, but I had wiped it before recycling it. I was meticulous about that kind of thing. It felt targeted and precise. One post chilled me more than the others. It was on a dead forum for an old programming language. Dated only a few months ago, the user QuietMatter89 had replied to a thread about browser fingerprinting. The signature beneath the post said Darren, still avoiding the eyes. The eyes? That phrase rang a strange bell, but I couldn't place it. It felt like something from a dream, or something whispered half asleep. It made me feel sick. I told myself I was being paranoid until the job interview. I was applying for a remote editor position with a small academic publisher. I'd sent in my resume, did the initial screening, and was invited for a video interview. We did the usual small talk, walked through my experience, and then the interviewer, a woman named Carla, paused. Her smile faltered. She leaned slightly forward, adjusted her glasses, and said, "I'm sorry, just to clarify. You're not the same Darren who used to work at Navistech, are you?" I blinked. "No, I've never worked there." Carla nodded slowly, but her eyes didn't hide the suspicion. "We had some unfortunate overlap with someone by that name, but thank you for clarifying. I didn't get the job. Never heard back." I looked up Navistech. It was a defunct tech startup based out of Seattle, shut down a year ago due to fraud allegations. Guess who was listed as one of the software leads on their archived team page? Me, my face, my name. Not a lookalike, not similar. It was a photo I had taken myself on a trip to Vermont 6 years ago. I remember the sweater I wore. I remember cropping it, adjusting the shadows. I never posted it. I never shared it. It was buried in a folder labeled Winters_2017 on an external drive I kept in my closet. That's when it hit me. This wasn't identity theft. It wasn't some random person using my name. Whoever this was had access to my life. Late one night, I turned off all the lights and opened my laptop. I ran scans, malware, spyware, rootkits, nothing. I pulled out my old backup drive, started combing through my documents, comparing timestamps, metadata, access logs. Everything looked normal. But there was one file I didn't remember making, a text file buried 3 folders deep. The file name was simply EIOTXTI. Opened it, there was no text, just one symbol, repeating over and over, filling the page. The symbol didn't stop. It went on for thousands of lines. The file size was over 10 megabytes, which is massive for a text file. It wasn't just random, it had structure, patterns. If you looked at it long enough, you could see repetitions, columns, spacing. It almost felt like language, a language made entirely of eyes. That's when I started dreaming. Every night, the same hallway. Dimly lit concrete walls, no windows. A static buzz hummed just out of hearing range. I was always walking forward, but the hallway never changed. There were no doors, just flickering lights that sparked overhead like dying fireflies. And at the far end, a figure silhouetted, still waiting. Every night it stood closer, and every night I woke up gasping. This is only the beginning. The worst came later when I started seeing those eyes outside of the file, on bus ads, and email spam, etched into the condensation on my bathroom mirror. Whoever had taken my identity wasn't just pretending to be me, they were replacing me, piece by piece. There's a point where fear stops being sharp and immediate, like a blade pressed against your skin, and becomes something else, dull, atmospheric, almost domestic. It sinks into the rhythm of your life. You stop asking if something is wrong and begin to accept that something is, and that it's not going away. That's what the days felt like after I found the eyes.txt file. I deleted it, of course, emptied the trash, even reformatted the drive. It didn't matter. 2 days later, I opened my laptop, and there it was again. Same folder, same symbol, same file size. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Instead, I unplugged the drive, shoved it in the bottom of a drawer, and sat motionless for a long time. The silence in my apartment felt like it had depth, like a sound that had been sucked out of the air and left something denser in its place. That's when I started noticing things. Small, off-kilter things, like my reflection. It began with delays, tiny ones. I'd glance into a mirror while brushing my teeth or washing my face, and for a split second, my reflection would lag, just by a frame, like I was watching myself on a cheap webcam with bad latency. The worst was in the hallway mirror, the one near my front door. Late at night, when everything was dark, I'd catch something I couldn't explain. Not a delay, something more subtle. It was me, but not quite. Same face, same clothes, but the expression was different. Slacker posture. A smile when I wasn't smiling. A twitch in the eye when mine was still. And only ever when I looked out of the corner of my eye. Eventually, I covered the mirror with a towel. Then, I took it down entirely. But the feeling didn't leave. One evening, around 3 a.m., I got a text. Unknown number, no contact name. The message simply read, "Check the stream, you're in it again." Attached was a link to a live video feed. My better judgment told me to ignore it, but I clicked. It opened a stream, grainy footage, a room, bare, concrete floor, flickering fluorescent lights overhead. The camera didn't move. There was no sound. At first, I thought it was empty. But after a few seconds, a figure stepped into frame. He wore the same hoodie I was wearing, same jeans, same posture, same haircut. He didn't look into the camera, just paced back and forth. And then he stopped, turned, stared directly into the lens, into me. He lifted one hand slowly, waved. Not a friendly wave, a mockery of one. Like he was saying, "I see you." I plugged the tab. I unplugged my modem. I sat in darkness, with only the glow of the screen, and realized my hands were shaking. The next day, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail, but the message it left, it was my voice. There was no introduction, no context, just my own voice, whispering. "He's getting closer. You'll start to feel it in the bones, in the things that move just before you blink." There was a faint, wet clicking in the background, like someone chewing slowly right next to the microphone. I didn't remember recording that. I would never say something like that. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the floor and slid under the couch, screen flickering with spiderweb cracks. That night, I drank a lot. Tried to drown it all out. Tried to watch something, anything, funny, warm, harmless. But every app I opened glitched. A frozen thumbnail here. A looping ad that wouldn't end. an interface I didn't recognize, and every now and then, a flash of a face, my face, but distorted, smirking, flickering like a broken VHS. When I finally managed to play something, the audio was wrong. Voices out of sync, laugh tracks in the wrong places, the background music, wrong key, slightly off pitch. It felt like watching a dream pretending to be a memory. I awoke at 4:44 a.m. every night, the same time, the same number glowing red on my digital clock. Outside my window, someone stood motionless beneath the street lamp, too far away to see clearly, but close enough that I could feel their gaze. They never moved, just stood there night after night. I stopped sleeping altogether. Eventually, I decided to visit the police. I didn't expect much, but I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd take a report, maybe offer advice. At the very least, I needed to say something out loud to someone real. I explained as rationally as I could that someone was impersonating me online, using photos, even video. That, I feared, it might be connected to some fraud ring. I mentioned the podcast, the fake employment history. The officer at the front desk listened, expression neutral. Then she asked my name. When I told her, she blinked. "Hold on," she said. "We actually have a record under that name." My stomach sank. She stepped into the back, leaving me alone. After 10 minutes, she returned with another officer. This one wore a different badge, detective. He pulled me aside into a private room, closed the door, then asked, "Where did you say you lived?" I told him. He nodded slowly, too slowly. "We have a report of someone with your name and description who filed a harassment complaint 3 weeks ago, said someone was impersonating him, claims someone else was pretending to be you." "I am me," I said. "That's why I'm here." He looked at me with a mixture of confusion and pity. "Right?" he said, but I could tell he didn't believe me. He handed me a copy of the report, and there, in the signature, was my name. My handwriting, my signature. Only I'd never written it. Not there, not then, not with that pen. The ink was a strange reddish brown, like old blood. I walked out of the station, and the sky felt wrong. The clouds overhead swirled too fast. The air smelled like static, like copper. The world tilted slightly, and for a moment, I felt like a passenger in my own body, like something else was steering, like I was being watched from behind my eyes. That's when I remembered something from the Eyes TXT file. Near the end, right before I deleted it, there had been a short sequence that wasn't Eyes, just for letters. ESSE Latin. I had looked it up. It means to be, or more accurately, to exist. I wasn't being impersonated. I wasn't being copied. I was being overwritten. I stopped using my name. After the visit to the police station, something shifted, like a lens clicked into place behind reality. And now I was seeing the wrong version of the world, or maybe the real one. Whatever the truth was, it had weight, and it pressed against me every time I tried to be myself. So I stopped. No credit cards, no logins, no phone. I even signed emails under a different name when I had to send them at all. I bought a second-hand flip phone with cash, wrapped it in aluminum foil when not in use. Paranoia, maybe. But the calls hadn't stopped, just changed. Sometimes, the phone would ring once, no number. Once, I picked up, and there was only breathing, but not human breathing. Wet, deliberate, mechanical, like something mimicking what I'd thought lungs sounded like. Then the line cut. That was the last time I answered it. I started dreaming in third person. I'd see myself doing things I hadn't done, walking into stores, talking to people, laughing at jokes I didn't hear. I'd wake up tired, not groggy, drained, like I had burned calories for someone else's memories. In one dream, I stood in a cafe. The barista handed me a latte and said, "Same as always, huh?" The name written on the cup wasn't mine, it was R. That's it, one letter. And yet, I recognized it, not as a person, not even as a name, but as a placeholder for the thing I used to be. I tried tracking the original podcast down, the one that I had been on. I found it eventually obscure. No website, just an RSS feed buried in a directory of paranormal archives. The latest episode was titled, "The Guest Who Wasn't There." It started with static, then laughter, then my voice, flat, lifeless, answering questions I didn't remember being asked. What's it like, not being real? Oh, it's easier than you'd think. Once you stop needing a reflection, the rest comes naturally. The host never said a word, just listened. And at the end of the episode, I said one last thing. Thanks for letting me in. Then silence. But it wasn't empty. It was watching me. I knew I couldn't go back to my apartment. So I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind that still uses keys instead of cards. The room was beige and lifeless. No paintings, one lamp. The kind of place that forgets you as soon as you leave. That's why I chose it. But on the second night, I heard scratching at the door. Not knocking. Scratching. I peered through the peephole. There was a man standing there. No expression. Wearing my jacket, I opened the door. A crack. "Can I help you?" I asked, voice trembling. He didn't blink, didn't move. Just said, "You're not using it anymore. Thought I'd take it back." "What? Your face," he said. "You've done nothing with it. You don't even know how to wear it." Then he smiled, slow, almost gentle, and walked away. I didn't sleep that night. Things stopped making sense after that. My shadow moved when I didn't. Store clerks would greet me like an old friend, but use the wrong name. My voice on recordings sounded higher, then lower, then completely alien. One time, I caught my reflection mouthing something I didn't say. I couldn't read the lips, but I could feel the intent. Get out, but I didn't know where to go, because wherever I went, he'd already been. I started getting emails from a strange address. me@me.com, no subject line, no body text, just attachments. I opened one. It was a photo-grainy, low-resolution, CCTV-like. It was me, standing in the lobby of my old office, except I'd never gone back there. Not since this started. This one, me asleep in the motel bed. I checked the timestamp. It had been taken 3 minutes ago. I ran. I don't remember how far or how long, but eventually I found myself in a library. Old, abandoned, or maybe not. There were lights on, but no people, no noise, just rows and rows of books. No titles on the spines, just symbols. And the symbols didn't stay still. If I stared at one too long, it became an eye, then a mouth, then something else. At the far end of the library was a single computer, CRT monitor, monochrome screen. Green text. I sat down. The terminal blinked. Login _ I typed my name, not the fake ones, not the safe ones, my real name, the one I'd stopped using. And the computer responded, access granted. Then the screen filled with lines of text, so fast I could barely process it. But every so often I saw words repeat: mirror, imprint, essence, backup and progress. Then the final line: you have been successfully replaced. The screen went black. That was 4 days ago. I don't remember leaving the library. I don't remember anything since then. But yesterday, someone recognized me on the street. They waved, smiling warmly. "Hey, I listened to you on that show. Wild stuff, man." I smiled back, because I do remember being on that show. Sort of. I remember talking about identity, consciousness, surveillance, and how strange it is to realize someone else might be better at being you than you are. I remember signing off with, "I'll see you when the mirrors break." I don't fear being replaced anymore, because I think it's already happened. And if I'm honest, I feel lighter. I feel free. I watch my hands move and marvel at how well they work. I listen to my voice and think, that sounds like someone I'd trust. Sometimes, I still get emails from the old me. He's still out there, I think. Wandering, nameless, watching from the other side of screens. And every now and then, I reply. The person you were trying to reach is no longer available.